If you skip the original Mofage POCO because of the clearance issues, you're not the only one, because that was the biggest reason I never recommended it in the first place. 5 months ago, Mofage sent me the POCO II, which is one I have here, before it even launched, and since then I've been using this adapter on my Lumix cameras as well as my Blackmagic Pyxis 6K. So after living with it for the 5 months, did Mofage finally fix the one thing that mattered most to me? And more importantly, has it made shooting with the PL cinema lenses I have easier? Let's find out. The biggest complaint I had with the original POCO adapter wasn't the build quality, it wasn't the filters, it was clearance. Some larger PL lenses didn't fit properly, and depending on your camera cage, assessing the filter system could become frustrating. Even investing in PL cinema glass, the last thing you want is wondering whether your adapter is going to get in the way of use. The good news now is that Mofage clearly listened. The POCO II now supports up to 26mm of rear lens insertion depth, and that's significant improvement over the original one. Lenses that previously caused problems now fit properly inside the adapter. I've been using mine on my Lumix S1II, this is one I have here, my S1RII, even my S5IIX, all fitted with a SmallRig Black Mamba cage, as well as on my Blackmagic Pyxis 6K with SmallRig cage, and I've had no issues mounting on any of my PL lenses. There's still only a couple millimeters, if you see here, I'll do a close-up so you can see, of clearance around the cage on the Lumix bodies, but everything operates exactly as it should. I'm just adjusting it and it's just perfect. I'll also be hearing that lenses like the Nisi Athena series, which many people struggle to mount on the previous version, now fits correctly with this one as well. For me, that's the biggest improvement, because without fixing that issue, none of the other upgrades would really matter. Now here's something I wasn't expecting. The clearance isn't actually the biggest problem I'd recommend the POCO II. It's this simplifies my workflow. One of my PL lenses has an 86mm filter thread. I think, where is it? Yes, behind me. This is the 7 Artisans Infinity Series 60mm T2.5 cine lens. Now, if you ever priced a good quality variable ND in that size, you know that they're not cheap. Then you buy another lens with different filter thread and you need another filter, then another. Before long, you spend a small fortune on filters that all do exactly the same job. With the POCO II, I don't think about that anymore. The filter lives inside the adapter, not on the front of the lens, but inside there. So regardless of which PL lens I'm using the exact same filter system, which is good, so you don't mix up different filters and have different, all those color shifts. One filter, all my lenses. For me, that's probably the biggest workflow improvement. Whether I'm shooting a commercial, a short film, or simply comparing lenses, which I do from time to time, and spending less time swapping filters and more time shooting. That's why this adapter has become my go-to PL adapter, and that's why I waited for the POCO II. Now that the biggest issue for me has been solved, let's talk about everything else that's new. The first is modularity. Unlike the original, this POCO II here lets you swap both the front and the rear mount. On the front, you can switch between PL and EF, which is a plus. On the back side, the rear, you can choose between Sony E, Canon RF, Leica L, Nikon Z, Fujifilm X, and Kini mount. That's a lot of mount. And here's where that matters. If you own more than one camera system, you don't need to buy another complete adapter. You simply swap the rear, or you can buy the rear or front element and just mount that instead. That's much more economical way of building the kit over time, and it's not so expensive. It's also lighter. Mofage rates this new one at 239.8 grams compared to 304.8 grams for the original. Great for gimbal work and lighter for just run and gun you do. Now, that might not sound like much on paper, but once you add cinema lenses, batteries, cages, and monitors, every little gram starts to matter. Now, the locking ring on the adapter has been redesigned slightly. There's one fewer grip tab than before, which I suspect makes accessing the filter tray a little easier. After 5 months of use, including the short film I shot using this adapter with a cine lens, I haven't had any complaints with the build quality. Everything still feels solid, exactly how you expect from something that's sitting between your camera and your lens. The variable ND is still a drop-in cartridge with a range of 0.3 all the way to 2.4, and it features hard stops so you don't accidentally run into cross pattern you often see on cheaper variable NDs. What I really wanted to know was whether it affected image quality. To my eyes, it didn't show there was no X pattern, skin tones, color temperature, There was no change. The white balance didn't change. I also love to know what you think. Thank you, Jason, for helping out with this test. Now, no product is perfect. No product is 100. The first thing I love to see is support for M-mount lenses. I'll admit that's probably a niche request, but with lenses like the Typoxy Mirror C series becoming more popular, it'll be interesting to see. I reviewed those lenses. I'll link them in the description or up here. Now, the second one is definitely the bigger ask. Imagine a future version of this lens with autofocus. It sounds ambitious, but companies like Viltrox and Tilta are already pushing boundaries in this space. So I'd love to see what Mofage can do. The only practical limitation I've found is that if you're using a cage, swapping some of the removable filters isn't as quick as you would expect. You still need to remove the adapter first, which I found when using the system. And personally, that doesn't really bother me anyways, because I don't change filters that often during a shoot. If I'm outdoor shooting during the day, I know I need this system and I'll run with this. I don't need to change it, but it's worth knowing before you buy. So would I recommend the POCO II? Definitely yes. I used to use a third-party adapter system right here, this one, and I'll have to be traveling with filters, and I have multiple cine lenses. This one is 86mm. The one behind me, this one for Dizio, the Dizio VSP2 is, I think, 77. Yeah, this one, oopsie. Are you done? Good. This one is about 77mm, and you imagine having to travel with different filter systems and adapters to adapt to like an 82mm filter thread. So it's good to have this one. I can just swap out, pull out my VND, put it back, and that's good. So not simply because Mofage fixed the clearance issues, although that was the biggest reason I couldn't recommend the original. I recommended this one because it genuinely simplifies the way I shoot. I no longer need multiple variable NDs for different filter threads. I use one filter system across all my PL lenses, whether they're mounted in my Lumix cameras or my Blackmagic Pyxis, whether using a 6K or 12K. And after 5 months of using it on real shoot, that's the improvement I've appreciated the most. So if you skip the original POCO for the same reasons I did, I think the POCO II is a version you should be looking at. If you'd like to see another piece of kit that's become part of my regular filmmaking setup, check out my review of the Mofage Talos Magic Arm, which I'm currently using right now to boom my mic. I'll show you the setup in B-roll. That's what I'm using to hold my mic to my camera cage. As always, if you find this video helpful, I would really appreciate if you gave it a like and subscribe to the channel. It's a Filmmaker. Thanks for watching. God bless and peace.